Hello and welcome to another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman, and I'm joined by my usual cohorts, the Professor Russ Stevens and Uncle Joe McLaughlin. Well, we have another great show for you tonight. So, boys, let's get it started. Of course, we start with the Boston Celtics. It's Game 5 tonight in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's away, but look, the Celtics have been one of the best road teams all season since January. The best road team. Their point differential is remarkable when it comes on the road. So this is not exactly the normal playoff test. Fellas, I say if the Celtics play normal, don't turn the ball over much, they should win this by 8-10 points.
Yeah, and with the one caveat being, are they healthy? Will Williams and Smart? If Williams and Smart play and the Celtics don't turn the ball over 20 times, I agree they should win by 8 or 10 points.
It seems to me the rebounding is what determines how the Celtics go against this team. If they hold them to one shot every time.
But I have to tell you, Joe, that's actually the stats don't show that. The stats show the rebounding is basically level. It's the turnovers. If you look at the correlation between Celtics wins and losses in the playoffs, it correlates most of that.
When Al and Robert Williams, when the people who are supposed to be rebounding are rebounding, they dominate. Then they're just shutting them down on defense, and they get multiple shots on offense.
Yeah, we saw the Milwaukee Bucks get 3, 4, 5 opportunities at the basket, and yet we still stayed close. I would venture to say that this is the best Celtics team of tapping the ball during a rebound opportunity to their player. That's all coaching, and you have to give Udoka credit for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's become a technique that's used a lot in the NBA. Never saw it as kids, right? I don't remember that being a thing. You grab your rebound and you're off to the races. And it's definitely a thing in the NBA, and the Celtics have caught up because that's been happening to the Celtics for the last 5 years.
Yeah, they're really good at it. And obviously
that was Bill Russell's signature move back in the day. He would always tap at the KC and start the famous Celtics fast break.
Yeah. Look, guys, this is Boston. The first person we're always going to blame, no matter when sports go badly in this town, is the head coach. I haven't heard one peep, whether we win or lose, of negativity about Udoka. I would venture to say that Brad Stevens may have hired the perfect coach.
Yeah, look, there's only one game, I think, in the playoffs where I think I texted to you guys that he got pantsed by Budenholzer. Budenholzer one game and Spoelstra, I thought in game one, but Budenholzer pantsed Ime in that series once, but otherwise Ime has been just as good, if not better, than the opposing coach.
Yeah, I think it was game 3 when he kept throwing a different zone out there, and Ime
That's right, Joe. That's right, Joe. Yeah, that's
what we used to criticize Doc Rivers for sure about was just the whole substitution and who he was keeping in, who he wasn't bringing in. And that's not a criticism right now of Udoka. That doesn't seem a glaring weakness in his coaching game.
I generally agree. Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. He is there's a limited set of choices for him to make because it's so thin. There was some real discussion in the past when they lost game 3. Remember, he started Tice and not Williams, and Tice was horrible for the first few minutes, and instead of starting Grant Williams, and then he didn't even use Tice in the second half, and that's when the Celtics made a break. So he's, every once in a while he'll do something, but look, Udoka is a strength and not a weakness, period, right?
Yeah. He sure is. And again, I'm just giving Udoka all the love possible. Clearly, if you notice, I think he's really good with timeouts too. I think he doesn't wait, try to buy another minute, as Joe would say, and see if the fellas
can get it. Save them like they're gold, to the end of the game, and then stuck with 2 or 3 of them.
And every time he calls a timeout, you can know that when those players are heading back to the bench, they're catching.
Yelled at.
Yeah, they've gotten their asses handed to them consistently, since the beginning of the year. They started responding in January, but they started getting, he's been very consistent. He's all you want from a coach is consistency, right? What's the best thing about Belichick as a coach, honestly, is its consistency. Doesn't get too high after a win, too low after a loss. And the same with Ime,
All right, so the question is, I know Brad Stevens built part of this team. Obviously, Danny Ainge did most of the work. Would Brad Stevens, as coach of the Boston Celtics, be 2-2 in Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals?
No, he admitted it himself that those guys were tuning him out. It wasn't like he lost the locker room. I don't think those guys disrespected Brad. I don't think this was an issue of, we don't think Brad can coach. I think the voice got stale. They stopped responding in the way that, they had in the past when they were younger, and they needed a new voice. It's not a criticism. I still think Brad Stevens is probably a top 5 or 7 coach in the NBA. You put him on another team, he'd be a great coach.
And he's basically the architect of this team. I know Danny drafted these guys, but Brad developed them, and then Brad assembled them all back together for Ime the way Ime wanted them. Got him G. White when he wanted them. Got him the guys you needed. Needed a backup guy, got him Tice back.
They're just some guys that just play well in particular uniforms. It's just the way it is. Bill Belichick has reaped rewards of that by bringing guys back. Al Horford, I know he played pretty well with the Hawks, and they love him there. But Al Horford, to me, in his career, will be known as a Boston Celtic.
Well, likely, you would, especially if they win.
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, to Joe's point, a win would cement that. But he's, first off, it's not that hard to make the NBA Hall of Fame. He's on track to make it just because of the length of his career and the consistency of his work. And will he be known more to be as an Atlanta Hawk or a Celtic? It probably depends on what he does over the next few weeks. And then, I think it's pretty much a given now that you'd bring him back next year, right? I don't think why would you ever let him go?
Well, if he wins it, if we win a championship, then
guaranteed,
fully guaranteed.
26.5 million becomes guaranteed. Otherwise, it's our option, but we'd have to pay 14 to cut him, which they're never going to. The Celtics paying $14 million for the right to cut Al Horford makes no sense. They may renegotiate with him and say, Al, could you tack on 2 more years? We'll give you $15 million a year after this one. So you get a total of, $60 million over 3 years, something like that. They may do that, but they're not going to cut him now.
Yeah, you would assume right now Al Horford is a Celtic for life.
I would think so. I mean, look, this guy left for greener pastures, and those green pastures smelled like cows pooped in those pastures, and he couldn't get back fast enough, right, to Boston.
Joe, it's a star league. Tonight, really, it begins and ends in some level with Jason Tatum.
Yeah, and Jason, by his own admission and Ime's admissions, he hasn't had the playoffs people thought he was going to have. But the best might be, be ahead for him. He seems to be coming around. Last game was very good, both offensively and defensively. And let's see if he can get it on a roll.
Look, the NBA players, they roll around on the floor like they're soccer players, the way they ahs, wheelchairs and all that, and then they come back after the timeout. But I would venture to say that Jason Tatum is actually, his wrist has got to be bothering him, because I've seen some shots where he's airballed it, where clearly his wrist just gave up.
Do you mean Tatum's shoulder? I think it's his shoulder that's
no. I would say the wrist. There was wrist problems earlier on and he always holds the wrist. I think it's the wrist that gives him the biggest problem.
Well, I think
it's the stinger in the shoulder. I think Russ is right that you see being worked on during the game.
Yeah, I think it's Jaylen Brown's. I think that Jaylen Brown's wrist, which had surgery last year, I think I think that's bothering him. I think that's one of the reasons why Brown has had such a hard time handling the ball. Probably both those guys, Scotty. You know, Tatum has grabbed his wrist. He's got a stinger.
Yeah.
Look, this is a friggin' war of attrition. I've never seen anything like this. I mean, there are guys just dropping like flies every night in the NBA.
But next year, especially if we win a championship, I think they got to do a little maintenance on the stars right now. That they'll have deserved it. They need not to be playing 82 games. The Browns and Tatum's of the world, 68 would just be fine with me. How about it, guys?
Yeah, 70, 72. You know, couldn't agree with you more. What's clear to me now is if we were to go on and win this championship, it's going to be as much about perseverance as anything, right? I mean, how many games in the playoffs have we had our full team?
Yeah, not too many, right?
2 games a series.
Yeah,
right.
And then Joe, moving forward, next season, the season after that, what do we do for Rob Williams to keep him on the court?
I don't think you're ever going to keep Rob Williams on the court for more than 15 minutes a game, and it's just the kind of guy.
Joe, no, Joe, 15 minutes. I get your point, but the guy played 30 plus minutes a game this year, and he did give way, but he's not a 15-minute a game guy. I think 20 to 25.
Only averaging about 20 this year.
That's not true.
A couple 30s, but
it's actually your data is wrong on that one, Joe. He did not average 15 minutes a game this year.
Well, no, I'm saying 20.
No, I understand the point, though. Right. Rob Williams is not a guy who's going to give you 35, 40 minutes a game.
Yeah. And he's not going to give you 68 games either.
No, he's not. But somehow, I guess
they got him at a good price for that kind of player, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. However, they can do the maintenance with him too, during the season, because moving forward, especially if you win a championship, then you understand how to get from A to Z. And that's when you move forward. And that's the strength in that. You're learning about your personnel so much throughout these playoffs. You're getting another 30 games of being able to play review. And that's priceless. And look, Bill Belichick took that for 20 years and reaped the rewards of that.
Hey, if Rob goes 40 minutes a game, he's a max player. He's a max contract.
Joe, Robert Williams averaged 29.6 minutes a game this year.
Yeah. So there you go.
Good. That's good. That's excellent for him.
Yeah.
How many games?
61 games.
See, that's exactly what you want, right?
I think, Joe, Joe's point is right. Like, I think really, Scotty, your question is, what do you do to manage Rob? I think you play Rob 25 to 30 minutes tops, right? Get him to average 25 a game, sit him out 10 games. And, you may have what you need. You may have Daniel Tice. Part of the reason why Robert Williams had to play so much is their third center was Enes Kanter, and they couldn't play Enes Kanter this year. So you put Tice in there for 15 minutes a game in the regular season, perfectly good regular season center in the NBA.
And Grant and Al helped out.
Exactly.
Why not have Grant next year?
Yeah. Look, Marcus Smart, I think Rob Williams is going to play tonight from what I'm hearing in the Grandstanders live desk at 6:45. I would be shocked if Marcus Smart plays the rest of the series. When you keep on saying the coach Doka keeps on saying how swollen the ankle is, that usually means it's broken.
It's not broken. He would not be bouncing around on the bench during Game 4 if his ankle is free. He's no boot. He's not wearing a boot or a cast, so it's definitely not broken.
Well, then you got big time swelling. Then that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, you could have
low ankle sprain though. Swollen. The swelling can be alleviated pretty easily.
Yeah, you might be right about tonight. I don't know. They're going to test it. I'd be surprised if he didn't play in Boston in Game 6. That would shock me. It wouldn't shock me if he didn't play tonight, but it would shock me if he didn't play in Game 6.
Yeah, Marcus has that Stanislavski about him, and he would like the big moment of coming back.
He definitely likes the moment. And D. White, look, the reason Brad Stevens got him was for games like Game 4, and he came through.
Yeah, his shooting is still suspect, but as we've seen really throughout his time here, he does all the other things well. Handles it reasonably well, passes it, moves the ball, plays very good. His defense the other night was fantastic. It really was. Fantastic
And he
defender.
keeps the turnovers way down when he's
Mhm.
winning points.
Yep.
You don't see the other guys that handle the ball a little better because I think they're giving the ball in a better situation. It's not just he doesn't turn it over. The other guy, the Jays, don't turn it over either.
We talked about last week about Miami and how they were fighting during the game a couple of weeks ago. And look, what I saw of Game 4. Now the Celtics have not quit at all at any point during this series. The Heat quit on Game 4. Butler, Lowry, they were kind of bitching and moaning at the bench. They got some quit in them. You win Game 5 and you get ahead in a little bit in Game 6. They will be more than happy to hand.
That's why I want them to win tonight.
Yeah.
Because then you can close them out. And they'll go
look,
allow themselves.
I have a lot of respect for that team. And, I think the other night was probably this natural human reaction, which was we got the game we needed in Boston. We're getting trounced. Spolstra's up our arse. Why don't I just take a seat here, make sure I don't get hurt? I think you're right though, Scott. If they win tonight and get out to a quick start in Game 6, it may be tough for them because they may get cranky, right? And not in a good way.
We talk about certain coaches over the years in Boston, how they hated their teams. I don't think Eric Spoelstra really likes this team that much.
I think Jimmy. Hard to tell. But I think Jimmy Butler's a tough guy to coach. I mean, that's proven. He's a superstar. He's been on 5 teams, right?
But he was nowhere. He was disinterested in Game 4.
Butler, I think Butler's hurt. I think it's very easy to confuse disinterested from hurt. Like I really do. I just think I think his knee hurts.
In the game they won previous, Game 3, where he sits out the whole second half, he was gone.
Yeah, I don't know.
Look, Scotty, I know you desperately want the Heat. You're like such a Boston fan. Like you desperately want the Heat to be bad. You want to hate on the Heat. I don't see it. I think the Heat are mentally tough. I think if the Heat were our team, I think if the Heat were our team, we would love them. We would say they're so tough and they grind it out.
We'd be talking culture.
Oh my God. I just think, the whole thing is, I think, I'll go on the record. I don't think the Celtics are going to win tonight. I pray I'm wrong, but I think the Heat are gonna, the Celtics lost one, won the last series, and I think the same thing's going to happen this series now.
They seem to lose interest in winning 2 in a row, it seems. But the only guy I don't like is that PG Tucker.
But Joe, if he was on the Celtics, you'd love the guy.
Oh
you'd love him.
Marcus Smart, long hands,
Yeah. I guys, look, if we had lost to the Bucks, I would have understood it, even though that Game 5 would have still left a bitter taste in my mouth forever, by the way. But with Giannis and and Holiday, these just fantastic players, I would have been okay. I'm not that impressed with the Miami Heat. I just not. I guess
I know you aren't. You've made that abundantly clear.
I just don't see it at all. I didn't see it 2 years ago in the bubble. I don't see it now. I mean,
Scotty, they're 2-2. Like they beat us twice. They have home court advantage.
Look, we were throwing the ball. There were 7 turnovers in Game 3 where we literally threw the ball to the
I understand
Miami defender without him doing anything. That's a lot of points.
But they don't. All I would say is they're extremely tough-minded. They tend not to beat themselves. They missed a lot of shots the other night. The Celtics got on a roll. I think there's only one really fundamental flaw with the Celtics. If you go really deep into it, and it's the turnovers and other stuff. They don't handle success well. They just don't. It gets to their heads. And I don't think this win-loss thing is a coincidence. They every time they won a game against Milwaukee, they'd lose the next one. Their backs would be against the wall. They won. And then game 7, they won 2 straight because by definition, game 7 is your back's against the wall. They just let up. They let it. We've been seeing this all year long.
They like to put themselves in a hole that they have to fight back out of. But
that's right.
Eventually, you put yourself so deep in a hole you can't.
That's right.
All right, give me one indicator tonight in the first quarter, if you think.
Great question.
Indicator that's whether things are going to be good tonight or going to be bad. Russell.
Are the Heat or the Celtics? Look, I think the indicator. Yeah. I think the indicator for the Heat is Bam. I think Bam Adebayo has been not good other than one game this series. To me, I couldn't agree more with you, Scotty. I think this is the Jays game. They didn't shoot well the other night. We blew them out, and the Jays didn't play back very well. They didn't shoot well. I think if you see the Jays come out aggressive, and especially Jalen scores 10 points in the first quarter, and we don't turn it over, I'll feel much better about life.
Joseph.
Geez, it's hard to say. The way this series is going, the team gets out to a 10, 12-point lead in the first quarter, ends up losing by 25. But I'll say I just want the Celtics to be ahead at the end of the first quarter, and no one in foul trouble, and then they should be okay. The rest of the game.
I think the main indicator, of course, we've mentioned the Jays, is the Jays taking the ball to the basket and not settling for threes.
I agree.
Especially Jason
I agree.
Tatum. When Jason Tatum is taking it to the basket, I think he's pretty much unstoppable. He's so big and long, and especially with a small team like the Heat, that means he's engaged. That also means that Tatum's willing to take a lot of contact, a lot of punishment to get where we need to go. That's early. When he's taking those lazy fadeaway 3-pointers, it could be a long night.
Usually that in this series, we were saying this the other night, is it's when they get tired, right? To your point that you started the whole conversation, is these fellas have played a lot of games. Jason Tatum's played a lot of basketball games this year. He always plays a lot of games. He plays a lot of minutes. I think he's in the top 10 in the league in minutes.
You're playing a lot of minutes. And that rotation is so tight now with Smart and Williams being out and Horford being out. And it was an 8-man rotation to begin with. And you take 2 guys out of it, you're almost guaranteed to be playing 42, 45 minutes.
Well, nobody looks more fatigued on the court than Rob Williams. He looks like he just did a marathon every time they show it.
Honestly, I don't blame him. He doesn't have his wind. I mean, how much do you think Rob Williams has practiced in the last month? Yeah. Probably 0 times, right?
He does play in those bursts of energy.
Has playing Giannis been a positive for the Celtics defensively in this series?
Yeah, other than game 1, when Jimmy Giannis them, and they didn't. We talked about this. They didn't play him like Giannis. They didn't build the wall to stop him. But I think the combination of him, his knee being sore, and the Celtics basically building a wall and saying, we're just not going to let you get to the hoop and live at the foul line. So if you want to make a bunch of 17-footers over us, Jimmy, be our guest.
Yeah.
You're not getting the baseline anymore, Jimmy. That's it.
Yeah.
There's someone sitting there.
And when Butler's not going to the free throw line, things are usually pretty good.
Yeah. Scott, to your point, the one real advantage that the Celtics just have game to game to game to game is when they don't turn it over and the Heat don't get out on transition, the Heat have a really hard time playing half-court offense against our defense. They have a hard time even setting up their offense against our half-court defense. So if we don't turn it over and we make the Heat beat us at the half-court, we're going to be hard to beat tonight.
Yeah, when Lowry's out, you got 2 undrafted free agents as your backcourt. They're not, up to the talent level the rest of the teams, of the 2 teams are in.
And of course, we're a fan show, and there's no greater fans in the whole world than Boston fans. And the home court advantage from the Boston Garden to Miami, those Miami people, they're more than willing to look at their phone, look in the mirror, sit on their hands, leave it the third quarter. I mean, this is not an engaged group. At least they all wear white. God bless them. But
they have to leave a towel or a white T-shirt on every seat to get that.
Freaking Mike Lowell. Did you notice Mike Lowell was in the is a Miami Heat fan? And he was in the front.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
that's disappointing.
That's it. He's dead to us. I don't even remember 2013.
No. He's a World Series MVP. Never.
Don't do that to us, But all right, predictions, guys. Predictions for tonight and predictions for the rest of the series.
Yeah, I just statistically, I just think the Celtics. I'm predicting a loss. I pray I'm wrong. I also don't think it's a must-win. I think if the Celtics lose tonight, they could easily win this series. Honestly, I don't think tonight is a. I don't think it's a typical Game 5. The Celtics lost Game 5 last series and won the series.
So all right, so you're saying Celtics lose tonight and win the series?
And win this series.
All right, we'll hold you to it, Joseph.
Well, I'm going to tell you that tonight will be the first competitive game of the series.
All right.
Jalen got it to 1 point the other night with a minute to go, but then they wiped out. This is one will be fought, and I'm hoping the Celtics come out on top. A lot of times it comes down to luck in that last minute, just the bounce of the ball, the referee's vagaries of how he's going to call it. But you're right, Russ. It's a must-win for the Heat. It's not.
Yeah, I think so.
For the Celtics.
Yeah.
If
I think so.
The Heat don't win this one, the series is over.
And Kyle Lowry,
I agree with
Lowry, he looks like he ate Giannis. He's so big.
Yeah.
He got big in his off-time.
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, again, here's an old guy who's stocky to begin with, who probably didn't practice for 6 weeks, frankly.
He still ate at the same level training table he'd been eating at.
It's crazy to see a fat basketball player. It just doesn't fit, right?
Been a long time. John Bagley.
Maybe eating the popcorn on the sideline at the last game.
Look, he was a key guy and killed the Celtics 2 years ago.
Killed us. Oh, what he used to do to Kemba Walker was criminal. Criminal what he used to do to Kemba Walker.
Every time.
Oh God, it was awful.
But he's the guy who got his last contract that he's ever going to get, and he shows it in the waistline.
Well,
I was more like Russ because he was out injured.
Yeah, you can't look past the guy. The guy's been hurt. I look. That guy's a gamer. Again, did Kyle Lowry? If he was on the Celtics, we would love Kyle Lowry. Are you kidding me?
No, I know he's a great player. I would have loved to have gotten him, but I mean, right now, Russ, currently he's 50 pounds overweight. It's embarrassing.
Breaking news! I just got a notification. Marcus Smart and Robert Williams are both playing tonight.
Wow, I'm shocked. I am shocked.
The Celtics record, just to remind everybody, when since January, when all those guys have played, is 25-4.
All right. Well, then thank you for that information, because
I might need to change my prediction, but
yeah. Do you want to change it, Russell? We're giving you time.
I actually, if honestly, if all four of those, I was sort of figuring Smart wasn't going to play. If all four of those guys are going to play, then I predict we do win tonight and we win this thing in 6.
Like if Rob plays, I still think they can win. If you're going to be missing anyone, already 2-0 without Marcus.
I'm using my mulligan and I'm flipping my pick, so I am going to pick the Celtics tonight.
And Marcus, I know he's the starter and stuff, but having him play gives us more depth, also.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
he plays 25 minutes a night.
Exposed.
Exactly.
And I don't.
Well, it basically means that you don't have to play White 41 minutes. White played 41 minutes the other night. You don't want Derek Wade playing 41 minutes. No. Trust me. And
Pritchard, who's been more of a phenomena in the playoffs for the Boston Celtics, Pritchard or Grant Williams?
Wow. I'd still say
consistent, but Grant has had the higher highs.
Grant won us a Game 7 against the NBA champions, the world champs. So it's tough to beat that. That was incredible.
But then we spoke about before playoffs started that these bench guys, some of these guys needed to stand out. We see this all the time in
right.
Major League Baseball, especially in World Series, where all of a sudden guys coming off the bench are stars.
Jackie Bradley, right?
You
JBJ.
see it in football too. They take away the first four options. It's the fifth option, the James Whites of the world that become the stars in the Super Bowl.
We would have.
Yep.
David Tyrese, the fifth.
Oh, Mario Manningham.
Yeah,
Right.
the fifth and sixth options are the ones that you have to go to because they take away the first three and four, anyways.
Well, we would have taken one of the Pritchards and the Grant Williams of the world, but we got both of them, and that's why we're in the position that we are. And look, it was kind of nice that Golden State at least lost yesterday, so they're going to be taking at least the game 5, because obviously we have to think ahead. If we get eliminated, who cares? But you didn't want the Golden State Warriors staying all healthy and hanging out and watching us beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah, I think you're right. Whatever the carcass is that remains of the Celtics after this series is the carcass that you're going to have to drag to the next series, and it's going to be hard.
The next series will be as physical.
No, but boy, it's a
to have been. Milwaukee was a physical series too.
Yeah. Not as physical, but man,
you're running a lot.
Oh boy, are you ever? Good Lord, get your track shoes out. So, Scotty, you're predicting the Celtics win tonight, I'm assuming.
Oh, I think
since
the
you hate the
Celtics win.
Heat.
I think that, again, I think the Celtics win tonight, and I think they cruise Game 6. And I think that Butler quits. He literally quits and just starts looking around, for the post-game dinner. I think the Heat are done. I saw a team that was done Game 4. There's also something going on with Bam, because he's a dominating player. And like you said, Russ, other than one game, he's disinterested. He will drive to the paint where he should be just doing a quick hook.
Well, look,
and then he'll kick it out.
That's Rob Williams, man.
But not always. But not always, even when it's Al.
Not always, but I think
Al's done a good job on him on 2 of them.
Al's done a great job. Yeah.
Al's played really long.
One game where Bam went off, Al just couldn't hold him.
Yeah, but remember, Robert Williams wasn't there, and the fact that Al Horford knows he's got Robert Williams on weak side help going after, it makes a huge difference knowing that. I mean, those guys have all admitted it. It makes a huge difference when they know that Robert Williams is behind them on defense. They can do so much more on defense when they know he's behind them.
So much more aggressive, strong side, because if he gets away, there's Rob holding the court.
I just want the Celtics to wipe him out tonight so I can see Aaron Nesmith in his best Ralph Malph impersonation.
Russ, have you ever seen a taller 6'8" than Rob Williams?
No, I know it's crazy. I don't think
he towers over Al Horford.
I don't think
6'11".
I don't think Al Horford's 6'11". I don't think Robert Williams is 6'8". I know Jason Tatum isn't 6'8". So Jason Tatum, he stands next to a 6'10" guy, and he's the same height as guys who are 6'10".
Oh my God!
And Rob is taller than both than him too.
Yeah. I think I bet you Robert Williams is like 6'10", 6'11". Yeah.
Yes. I keep looking at those stats and you go, no, it can't be.
It's not 6'8".
Point. When you see Jason Tatum when you go to the games live, just standing on the court, he's the most impressive looking guy of anyone.
Big cat.
Long, big, muscular. I mean, if you didn't know anything about basketball and there were 10 guys on the court, you would pick him as the best player.
Yeah. He's an incredible athlete, and his body control, coordination is fantastic.
How do you pick Markelle Fultz and Lonzo? But Lonzo Ball's a pretty good player. But
and Markelle Fultz was the far and away. I went. He was a consensus number 1 player. He was. Everyone had
a guy that knows what they, pretty much knows what they're doing. Said he was the guy.
Physically, all you had to do is look at the guy. Come on.
But then mentally, he kind of lost it.
Lonzo Ball is a good player too, very good player. I mean, he's not Jason Tatum, but he's an excellent point guard. What top 5 point
All
guard?
the balls have turned out to be better players than I thought they would be.
Would Lonzo Ball consider top 5 point guard in the league?
Lonzo?
Yeah.
No, I don't. But I think probably 5 to 10.
Okay.
5 to 10. His brother's better than he is. So.
Okay. All right, we go to the Red Sox, the hottest team in Major League Baseball. Of course, who could have predicted it? But look, I don't even know what to think of this team because I know that Chaim Bloom is probably sweating bullets, thinking that all of a sudden they're only 2.5 out of contention for the wild card, and now all of a sudden he's going to have to give up his prize prospects because we're going to ask for this team to compete down the wire.
Kyle Schwarber. We won.
He's going to start batting Bobby Dalbec leadoff. See if Bobby Dalbec has any relatives who can play.
No, he's out of the lineup again tonight. Frenchie's playing first base again.
And now, he tried to stick Frenchie in there, and all of a sudden Frenchie hits a grand slam. But it's all starts and ends. And I hate to rip Uncle Joe. You know how much I love him. Yeah. But Uncle Joe, Russell and I stayed calm, cool, and collected when it came to Trevor's story. We tried to calm you down and said, don't worry, he's the least of the Red Sox problems. And Trevor Story had a week that was historic in greatness. What do you have to say for yourself?
Well, JBJ's had hot weeks too.
Joe. Jesus, Joe.
Oh, my.
No, my beef has always been with Chaim on this, where he had such a losing offseason. Everything he did wrong. And then I got to him and said, you got to make a splash. You got to make a PR splash. We're not selling tickets. And so he grabbed the last free agent on the market.
Who may end up being the best free agent in the market.
Fifth in the American
League. Might turn out to be great for him. Here he is playing out of position. And I don't like the idea that he's here so they can get rid of Xander. I'm not wild about that.
Nobody has said, Chaim Bloom hasn't said that.
But that was always a theory right from the get-go that he was the leverage and they could get that. And Story would move over to shortstop.
I understand that, but I know, Russell, you want to talk. I'm just going to say that Big Papi chimed in yesterday, and Big Papi's got a lot of pull in this town and with the Red Sox. And he said the Red Sox need to go and sign Xander Bogaerts. And I think that goes a lot with John Henry. And I don't think Xander's going anywhere.
I hope not. He's been hot too, not as hot as Devers and JD, or Story, but he's hitting 330.
Russell, Xander Bogaerts going to be here in August, and is he going to be here for the next 6 years?
To your point that you started with, this run, they're too close to the wild card. And they probably, I think they figured some stuff out. I think they're a pretty decent team, because I think the change in Frenchie for Dalbec is good. They'll be able to get someone into right field that's better. They add a reliever. I think they'll compete, so I don't think that they can trade Xander unless they are clearly out of the pennant race. Like, you cannot trade Xander if you have a whiff of being able to make the playoffs. So I think he is here in August, but I think he's gone because the history shows you when these guys hit the market, they're gone. Almost never. Freddie Freeman was a god in Atlanta, a god, and he left.
And they paid the guy from Oakland almost as much money, right?
Yeah. And they have a backup. They have a plan B. They've got Trevor Story to play shortstop next year. To Joe's point, it's gonna suck if they let Bogaerts go. Now, look, by the way, if they offer Xander $35 million a year for 4 years, and Xander chooses $36 million a year for 8 years, I don't know. There's a point in which the Red Sox, there's a point in which, but if the Red Sox are going to make some crappy offer of $29 million a year, or $27 million a year for Xander, then screw the Red Sox. They've got plenty.
Didn't they offer him $35 million for the extension year?
But that's a joke contract. Like, why would he ever sign that?
You
Why
still
would
have
why
to
would he
stay there
ever
the
sign
last
that?
3 years at the 20.
Yeah, why would he ever sign that contract?
Well,
But
That
I'll
was an
go with that
insult.
one you just said. 4 years, 35 per. That's it.
Yeah.
That sounds fair to me and fair to the Red Sox.
well, look,
8 years is, say even 5 or 6 years, are just going to be throwaways.
the big signings this year, the Marcus Simeons of the world, have really, and Correa,
Mhm.
the 1 year. These guys haven't put up any numbers at all. The Chris Bryants of the world.
Mhm.
The free agent signings this year have been an ultimate fail. This
Yeah.
affects the market the next year.
Right.
If I'm Xander, I got to be very careful right now because Xander's not getting any younger, too. He's been around since 2013. I mean, this
Yep.
guy's been around for a long time. If this Red Sox give him a competitive offer, which I believe 6 years at $30 million a year should get it done.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against that. That seems fair within a range. You're going to probably know you're going to eat the last 2 years of the contract. And the other thing is, does anyone on this call want Xander Bogaerts to be playing shortstop in 4 years? Because if Xander Bogaerts is playing shortstop in 4 years, that means our the golden boy Marcelo Mayer washed out, or we traded him, right?
Yeah.
So like 6 years, and you say to Xander, you guarantee the position for the next 3, but after that, you got to be open. We cannot, and we don't want to turn this into a big melodrama in Boston. If we want you to move, we'll work with you to do it, or we're going to need to trade you.
Yeah.
Because you're not our shortstop in year 5.
Yeah.
Year 4.
He kind of had to move, making $35 million.
Depends if heis producing, but yeah, you're right. Yeah.
He can't play shortstop anymore. Really.
But this is what people don't understand is, and this was, I always go back to John Lester. Xander Bogaerts is already making $20 million a year. So it's not like you're adding to your budget $30 million. You'd only be adding to your budget $10 million. And this is something you should be able to fit in, especially when you're losing a lot of contracts after the season, including David Price at 16.
Right. And by far, the fans who pay the most in all of Major League Baseball to watch them. By far, there's no other part. The Cubs are a distant second.
Yeah.
Yankees are down like 5th or 6th.
Yeah, no question.
We pay top dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah, we bring it, and needless to say, the Red Sox have to bring it too. It's inexcusable if they do not do it. Alex Cora, you know what I think of him as personally, but he's done a fantastic job with his team, keeping them together.
He's a good manager.
He's consistent. You take a look at Cassidy, you take a look at Ime, you take a look at Belichick, and you take a look at Cora, and you see these are 4 managers who are consistent from one one week to the next.
Yeah, but Cassidy will probably be gone.
Maybe, but he's consistent. He's been a hell of a coach, right? And he's been the same person the whole time.
That would just
he's lost the room, like everyone says.
Well, they're saying Cassidy lost the room?
Yeah, well, the players are tired of him calling them out, and it's never there's never a coaching problem. And it happens. That's just, and like with Brad, over time, that wears thin.
Oh, how about Barry Trotz? He'd be a fun coach to have.
That's who everyone wants. I don't know if that's the answer, but that's who everyone wants.
Well, I like Cassidy. I want him to stay.
I do too. I want him to stay. I think this is on Neely and Sweeney and basically they got to get better players. They're just not. It's the same thing every year. We need depth in scoring. We need it's like, how many years are we going to do this? Get it done.
Carolina was head and shoulders better than the goalie.
More talented.
Defense, and they had 3 lines for the 2. And their lines were just as good, if not better.
So I got a question for you. Back to the Red Sox, Scotty. What percentage chance do the Red Sox make the playoffs, given Chaim in this whole thing?
Wow, I still put because of such poor start, really only about a 30% chance, I think.
I give him a much better chance. I give him more like a 75-80% chance.
Oh, well, I'm between you two.
They've got some cards to play Nina Chrissy, Paxton, your favorite there now, Scotty, Brian Bayo down there.
No, well, Bayo's not. He stays in Worcester the whole.
Okay, that's fine, but they have some other guys. And so it looks like the pitching, which has been their strength so far this year, starting pitching anyways, will even get better, even deeper anyways. And let I'm swing another deal for the Schwarbers of the world, to put someone in right field that can actually, hit the ball.
Wow, so you have it. So Joe, you have it at 70%.
They make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wild card. What are they out? You were just saying 2.5.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's 3 teams that make the wild card. I'm not there, but I would say 55. There's 3 wild cards. They're just, the pitching looks pretty good. Relief pitching is the easiest thing to solve for. At the trade deadline, it's the easiest thing to find. And if he can go out and get a right fielder who can hit, I think they'll give themselves a shot at it. Yeah.
It would be funny if they reacquired Hunter Renfroe, which is not out of the question, actually.
Oh my God.
I'd like to see it put a left-handed bat more than a right-handed bat. A strong lefty.
What you're going to see is, because there was not a Rule 5 draft, and that seemed to, if you believe everyone, benefited the Red Sox because they might have lost a couple of prospects. You're going to see guys who are going to be exposed to the Rule 5 draft after this season. This is a pool of guys that Bloom could trade. I'm sure he's already put to the side that he can, like you said, Joe, get the Schwarbers of the world without touching his binkies.
That would be ideal. Just that lineup desperately needs some bad time. That Vasquez has come alive.
All right, Scotty, I got you one. Would you trade Ned York for Kyle Schwarber?
Nick York?
Yeah, Nick York.
No, not a chance. No way. Nick York is going to be Paul freaking Molitor. Nick York is the real deal. He's going to be. Nick York is going to be the best second baseman in our history. We didn't know Bobby Doerr. In our history of the Boston Red Sox. Okay, maybe not better than Pedroia. All right, I'll give you that. It's so funny about Pedroia. I just kind of forgotten him. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about Pedroia, but he wasn't ever my favorite player.
You never really liked him, and it's funny because Scotty, you're such you love the guys who grind it and who have edge and all that. And Pedroia had that. Marcus Smart, before you fell back in love with him, has it. And some of these guys, you just kind of you'll kind of turn on. Like, you did not like the way it ended with Pedroia. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
You didn't like the end.
No. And also, I never thought Pedroia was a clutch hitter.
Well, I used to hate the way he'd always take that first strike. Just watch it go right down the middle. Yeah.
But he was doing a lot of bad pitches in the clutch moments. I think he was I thought the guy defensively was incredible. I think he was fantastic.
I saw a lot of great plays.
But he really, but offensively, he never got up there, and I was that confident of him getting a hit. He just was, to me, he was a grinder.
After he got hurt, that was the end. After that lingering wrist thing.
Yeah.
He never recovered from that.
Oh, but all right, I'm going to say Nick York's going to be better than Dustin Pedroia. Thanks for reminding me that.
Yeah, that's a fair comparison. Sure.
I follow the minor leagues a lot, and I'll suck in everything I can. And so many guys have said, people who know, that this kid is the real deal. And when he comes up, we're just going to love, how he plays and what a solid player he is. Can't wait. He's still.
How's Mayer doing down there?
Mayer actually
injured list
right now. Yeah.
Injured.
York is finally getting. He's in Greenville, so he's finally getting his edge again. So he's up now about 250 and stuff. I think he'll probably end up the whole season in Greenville and then in Portland. So I'm wrong where I thought
double A.
Yeah, I thought he would climb up the system a little quicker than I think he's going to. But like Russ said, he probably is a starting second baseman in 24.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
where,
I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's right.
And then if they do lose Xander, look, so if he's 24, then either Story or Xander, if they re-sign him, will have to go somewhere else at that point.
I agree with that. Yeah. Yep.
There's always Devers to first if Cassis doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And Xander to third.
I got to tell you, Devers, he finally lost that baby fat, right? Like you see him up at the plate now, and you're like, oh God, that guy looks like an athlete now.
Yeah. He was angry at the plate all the time now.
And his defense is much better. I mean, he's a superstar.
10 years, 300. They want the 3. They need the 3.
Yeah.
10 years, $300 million. Who
agree.
would turn down that?
Yeah.
I just hope
hopefully nobody.
He's not the kind of guy that then all of a sudden gets real fat.
I mean, have we seen anything? Like, we've never seen any indication of that guy. Like, he just looks like he loves baseball.
Yeah.
He's gotten himself in better shape. I don't know.
He gets lazy as the season goes on. He probably gets a little more focused.
Red Sox should fold up. The Red should and close, because I can tell you who's signing Rafael Devers. It's going to be the New York Yankees. I will never. Let's put it this way.
Wasn't happy about Mookie. Understood it a little bit, just a little. I understood it. His size, how long was he going to last? All this other stuff.
The fact that he didn't seem to want to stay here.
I would tell you right now, if they don't re-sign Devers, I will never buy another ticket to a Red Sox game. Period.
Wow. All right.
Well, because under this ownership, I will never buy another ticket because there's zero rationale for that. Zero.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if that would be an ownership issue or, management.
No, Hein Bloom wants to keep Rafael Devers.
No, that's ownership. That's when John Henry steps in and says, "This is like we developed this player. He's played great for us. He's young. He shows no signs of a guy who's going to lose it. If he loses a little bit, we move him to first base. We can move him to DH. This is a guy who's signed for 10 years. It's not Xander Bogaerts, and it's not even Mookie Betts."
And the only guy that I can recall Tampa Bay signing to a 10-year early on in their career is
the third baseman.
Yeah, third baseman.
Longoria,
Evan Longoria.
And then they
but again, they're not. I don't believe that the Red Sox want to become Tampa. That the Tampa has no income. Like they have no revenue. They have to do business that way. The Red Sox want to become the LA Dodgers, right?
That's right.
They're always going to spend money. They're never going to spend $100 million. They're always going to push it. But so that just goes to the thing. Like the Dodgers have always signed their young key players. They will let guys walk, but the Dodgers would never let Rafael Devers go ever.
Look, it's not a good business decision. And John Henry's a good businessman. You wouldn't get rid of a top star and then go, and because obviously the value of the team would drop. And when they talk about values of team, they mention billions, not millions, billions. Just sign the freaking player, Jesus, and do it now.
Players sell TV ratings. They sell Boston Globe newspapers. It helps all of John Henry's local businesses.
Look, but I'm not panicking. I'm not panicking too much. He's a free agent after next year. There's the off season, all of the off season. This year, you want to make sure he doesn't get hurt or whatever. I can understand it, and even if they pay another $10, $15 million,
fine. Absolutely,
that's fine. I would be shocked if they lost Devers. It would be the worst PR move that I can remember in our lifetime. Because because Betts also, like you mentioned, Russ, Betts had he has a hip problem. Joe, he has injuries. He's slightly built. This guy is a rock.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
you can hit him with a bat and he won't move.
Yeah, he sure will. All right, go to the Patriots. I'm so excited. You see Mac Jones, man, Mac Daddy looked good. I don't like to talk about another man's
Jimmy who?
Oh, yeah.
Who?
And I just,
Mac's going to be doing Subway commercials next.
Did you just say I don't like to talk about another man's looks?
Yes, I said that. No, figure.
That's all you talked about with Jimmy G. You used to talk about Jimmy G being handsome all the time.
No, it's handsome Todd.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
No, look, that was what the priority was in the off season.
Yeah.
Mac Daddy was he needed to get rid of the baby fat. He needed to get over the male tits. He's done what he needed to do in the off season, and you can't but be impressed.
Certainly seems like it.
He's taking a page out of the old Tom Brady book of, having a couple of weeks with his receivers, bonding at night and then practicing during the day. So, it looks like it bodes well. Everyone seems to be happy with the second year together with Kendrick Bourne and Aguilar and Myers.
I just hope they can protect. I hope they can protect him, Joe. I hope they can give him enough time in the pocket so guys like Thornton and Aguilar can get downfield.
Well,
right?
They have basically the same line, except you sub Strange in for Shaq Mason.
Yeah.
So they basically have the same line, and they still got like 3 tight ends. So anytime they want, they could just go to an extra tight end to protect them. But it worked well last year. I think we're going to see a lot more out of the running game this year.
Look, Isaiah Wynn doesn't show up for mini camp, voluntary mini camp, and lots of rumblings that they're going to try to trade him.
Second year in a row, he didn't show up, right?
Yeah. What's that all about? I seriously.
He's not in the offseason. If he's not, I don't know. Is he in the offseason program at all?
How do you not show up for that? If you remember, Tom Brady didn't do that, and had remember, didn't he do that?
When the quarterback doesn't show up, it's a big deal.
Did he do that the last season he was with us?
Last couple of seasons, yeah.
Yep.
No, but definitely 19. And that sucked. How can you run a mini camp with the most important player not?
Well, as they say, if you look up the word voluntary in the dictionary, it doesn't say you're required to be there.
And Matthew Judon didn't show up either. It's like, Matthew, you've been running your mouth on Twitter the whole off season, and you don't even show up for mini camp. I don't understand that.
I show up for the compulsory stuff.
Yeah, and the other thing is they also said, Scotty, that some of those guys they didn't show up on the field yesterday, but they may have been in the facility too. So I'm not clear. Is it clear that Judon's just not in town?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But
yeah, I mean, he may be there.
You might be in the training room. You might.
Yeah, but I don't think that Isaiah Wynn is in town. Like that's what I was reading.
There's a lot of talk about Heron replacing him.
We'll have to have Joe analyze that one. I don't know enough to know whether he's a player.
Yeah, Isaiah Wynn has not been a favorite of mine, but I do think he gives you more left tackle than Heron can.
Yeah, well,
Heron's more valuable as his versatility. He can play right tackle, he can play left tackle, he can sub at center. He can do a lot of things.
Only in the offensive line could we be comparing a first-round pick with a sixth-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Any other position, you would never be saying that.
The thing is, you have to draft the size at that position. Number one, it's the measurables, and then you hope you can coach them up. And because that you have to be 6'6", 320 pounds just to play the position. So,
well, I'm hearing a lot of good things about Thornton, the wide receiver. A lot of good things. Kendrick Bourne said this guy can fly, but he's a little too skinny. Putting on weight is easy. Being able to be that fast.
I know how to do that.
Can't get faster.
if they say he'll do great, as long as it's not press coverage, that they're in zone or they drop him back into a man, he's fine. He'll blow right by him, no problem. But if they hold him up at the line, he doesn't have the strength to beat someone on the move.
Yeah, but you go 5 wide, Joe. Oh, where they're not going to press all of them, and all of a sudden you got him running. It's just going to be a matter of Mac Jones. Does he have the arm?
You're the X receiver. You're going to get one of the corners. The X and the Y are getting the 2 corners. The rest of the 5 wide, someone's getting a linebacker.
That doesn't seem fair.
He's going to get a corner.
I'm getting jacked up, boys. I'm pumped up. I can't wait for the Patriots. But I think we got something to go on tonight. Just a little more important. All right, boys. So that's our show tonight. I want to thank everyone behind the scenes. Of course, Ian. Want to thank the fellas. Please check us out on our website at thegrandstanders.com and tune in again next Wednesday night at 6:30 for another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman. Have a great and happy night.